What's up, guys? I'm DK, and you're watching Pro Wrestling What If, the series where I look at the different what if scenarios as terms of the world that we call professional wrestling. At Unforgiven 2006, John Cena had won the WWE Championship for a third time in his career. A reign where he had multiple memorable matches, such as the Last Man Standing match against Umaga at Royal Rumble 2007, and a main event match at WrestleMania 23 against the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. In the summer of 2007, John Cena would have a rivalry with Randy Orton over his WWE Championship that would span across SummerSlam, Unforgiven, and a match that was originally scheduled for No Mercy. However, John Cena would suffer a torn pectoral muscle injury in a match against Mr. Kennedy on Raw just before No Mercy, and with the extent of the injury, John Cena would be forced to vacate the WWE Championship as he was expected to be out of action for 6 to 12 months. Now, we all know that John Cena would return earlier than expected and win the Royal Rumble match in 2008, leading to the match with Randy Orton on No Way Out, and then the triple threat match that also included Triple H at WrestleMania 24. But imagine a world where those moments don't happen simply because John Cena doesn't tear his pectoral muscle in 2007. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. We're talking what if John Cena never got injured in 2007. And of course, I will begin at No Mercy and work through every pay-per-view until WrestleMania 24, because a lot of us have definitely wondered what John Cena would be doing at WrestleMania had he not gotten injured. And if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share this to all your friends, subscribe, and press the notification bell for when future episodes get released, and leave a comment down below about today's topic or suggesting a future topic for an episode of Pro Wrestling What If. So starting off with No Mercy 2007, where we know that the match was going to be Randy Orton versus John Cena in a last man standing match for the WWE Championship. And it has people wondering all those years whether Randy Orton was actually going to get crowned as the new champion, or John Cena would retain and continue his reign that was already at 380 days when it ended. And I actually think that Randy Orton would have ended up winning the WWE Championship, considering the last man standing stipulation is a way for John Cena to lose the WWE Championship without being pinned or submitted. This was also the third match in their rivalry, with Randy Orton having lost by pinfall in the first match at SummerSlam, winning by disqualification in the second match at Unforgiven, so it seemed like it was meant to be set up that Randy Orton was going to win the championship at No Mercy. And if we learned anything from the rivalry that happened 2 years later in 2009, you know there will be a fourth pay-per-view match in a row coming up, which leads to the next event, which was Cyber Sunday. A commercial had actually leaked for Cyber Sunday before Cena's injury, with another match between John Cena and Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. But for this match, the fans would vote the stipulation, which the choices were no disqualification, falls count anywhere, and Hell in a Cell. I would only assume that fans were most likely going to be voting for Hell in a Cell, since the prior one happened just over a year ago at Unforgiven 2006 with DX against the McMahons and Big Show. With this now being the fourth pay-per-view match in a row between Randy Orton and John Cena, we know that no matter who won this match, this would be the end of the rivalry, at least for now. And during the match, the cryptic codes that had been airing on Raw for weeks would begin to appear on the Titantron, leading to the return of Chris Jericho to cost John Cena the match and allow Randy Orton to retain the WWE Championship. And I also do imagine that if we did have the Hell in a Cell match between John Cena and Randy Orton at Cyber Sunday, the Batista-Undertaker match that happens the following pay-per-view at Survivor Series would not be contested under a Hell in a Cell match. Survivor Series 2007. Chris Jericho had originally made his return the night after Survivor Series as a babyface and began feuding with Randy Orton over the WWE Championship. However, I feel that it was fitting that not only with his vignettes that it made sense with the theme of Cyber Sunday for him to return there, but it also made sense that he would return as a heel and feud with John Cena, considering the last time we saw Chris Jericho at that time was in a WWE Championship Championship match against John Cena on the Raw after SummerSlam 2005, a match where he lost and was fired from the company right after. And the whole point of the Save Us motto could have been referring to Chris Jericho needing to save us from the face of the company, John Cena. So John Cena and Chris Jericho would be captains of the Survivor Series teams, in which the teams would be Team Cena featuring John Cena, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, Kane, and Rey Mysterio against Team Jericho featuring Chris Jericho, Big Daddy V, Finlay, Mr. Kennedy, and Umaga, which is essentially the same teams from the real timeline, but actually being 5-on-5 instead of 4-on-5, and MVP is unfortunately not a part of the match this time around. Team Cena would end up winning the match, not only because Team Triple H won in the real timeline, but I just felt there was no way WWE was going to allow John Cena to lose 3 pay-per-view events in a row at this time. Armageddon 2007. In the real timeline, Chris Jericho would challenge Randy Orton for the WWE Championship, but due to Chris Jericho feuding with John Cena in this timeline, Randy Orton would have his rivalry with Shawn Michaels, where it began and ended the following pay-per-view after the real timeline. So in case maybe you didn't get that, originally it was Cyber Sunday and Survivor Series that Orton and Michaels faced off. It would now be Survivor Series, then Armageddon. The Cena and Jericho rivalry would continue after Survivor Series, but we would finally get a one-on-one match between the two at Armageddon. And I think due to Chris Jericho being a heel here instead of a babyface like the real timeline, we would see some sort of iteration of the suit and tie Jericho we had in 2008. And I think for this match, Chris Jericho would pull off the victory in some sort of dirty finish in order to keep their rivalry going into the next pay-per-view. We have opened up YouTube channel memberships. Now at the moment as this gets released, we only have one tier, which is only $1.99, which you get stuff like behind the scenes footage and photos. You get a shout out on every single episode of Pro Wrestling What If, and more importantly, you get early access 24 hours before anyone else does for every single episode of Pro Wrestling What If. Shout out goes to Jackson Weingart, Jada Sanchez, Fox Starkiller, Mr. Randomizer, and Lola Pines for joining our YouTube channel membership. So definitely consider joining our YouTube channel membership. It'll be greatly appreciated, and hopefully there'll be enough people interested that we can open up more tiers, including eventually doing a tier with bonus content that you can't see otherwise. But let's get right back to the video. Royal Rumble 2008. Chris Jericho, in the weeks leading up to Royal Rumble, brags about defeating John Cena at Armageddon, now declaring that he will enter the Royal Rumble match and go on to main event WrestleMania once again. John Cena also declares that he will enter the Royal Rumble, but calls out Chris Jericho for not winning clean at Armageddon, once again leading to another match between the two, but this time adding a stipulation where the loser of the match doesn't get to enter the Royal Rumble match, which would lead to John Cena winning that match since he was already in the 2008 Royal Rumble match in the real timeline and Chris Jericho actually wasn't. The final two of the Royal Rumble match would still be John Cena and Triple H, but this time around Triple H ends up being the one that wins the match, as he was originally penciled in for 2006 and 2007 to win the match before certain circumstances had occurred. No Way Out 2008. John Cena had invoked his WrestleMania title opportunity in the real timeline at this event against Randy Orton. And since John Cena didn't win the Royal Rumble in this timeline, he would compete inside the Elimination Chamber. And this specific Elimination Chamber match would be for the WWE Championship instead of the number one's contender match we got, as the match would feature Chris Jericho, Jeff Hardy, JBL, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and the reigning champion Randy Orton. And Randy Orton would end up retaining the WWE Championship, so we could finally set up the singles match between Royal Rumble winner Triple H and Randy Orton at WrestleMania, something they tried doing in 2005, but would end up actually doing in 2009, but that match didn't end up turning out the greatest, while I think if they were to pull it off here in 2008, it would have been much better. And last but not least, WrestleMania 24. With John Cena not involved in the WWE WWE Championship match. Like in the real timeline, many people have always wondered what he would have been doing at this event had he not gotten injured. And I think he would have ended up going up against Batista, replacing Umaga in the brand supremacy match. John Cena and Batista had ended up facing each other at SummerSlam 2008, and I think it was because they were trying to make this match happen at WrestleMania. Then it was scrapped when WWE utilized John Cena's shocking return and had him win the Royal Rumble. Then a rematch from SummerSlam 2008 was in the works for WrestleMania 25 until Batista had surgery on a torn hamstring and missed the event, hence why third time's the charm, and they were able to pull it off at WrestleMania 26. Batista had won the brand supremacy match in the real timeline against Umaga, which was likely due to him having more star power than him. Yet if John Cena was representing Raw in the match, a case could be made for either or to win this match. Batista makes sense to win since he was victorious in the match at SummerSlam 2008 and looking strong going into the Backlash match against Shawn Michaels the month after if that storyline would still happen. But John Cena makes sense to win since he's the face of the company and representing the flagship show of Monday Night Raw, which I do think that John Cena would end up being the winner of this match after already losing the last couple of pay-per-views and it being the first time ever match between the two taking place at WrestleMania instead of SummerSlam.